Good evening. Welcome to the Wyatt Sharp Show tonight. So good to have you with us, and thank you for being here. Well, in recent weeks, specifically for those of you who are avid social media users and those of you who use TikTok, you've probably noticed some rumors, conspiracies surrounding the health of various members of the royal family, whether it be Princess Catherine or King Charles. Of course, Princess Catherine underwent what was known as scheduled abdominal surgery back in January, where the palace said that she would not be seen until Easter and that she would not resume her public duties until Easter. And well, that was normal and people didn't really raise too many suspicions. That is until the palace released a photo on what was Mother's Day in the United Kingdom. It was a photograph of Princess Catherine and the three royal children that was taken by Prince William. And at first, it didn't really, arise too many suspicions and nobody thought anything of it, other than it was simply a basic Mother's Day photo that they usually post or that people in those types of positions would do. But shortly after, major news networks started to retract the photo after various Photoshop errors were discovered. People started speculating on maybe artificial intelligence was involved in certain elements in order to perhaps enhance the photo. And regardless of whether or not that is the case, Princess Catherine did release a statement saying, like many amateur photographers, I do occasionally experiment with photo editing. Now, nonetheless, it has risen suspicions. People on TikTok have been going wild, posting videos with presentations like this one. Take a look. So you get kind of the full picture. That's just a quick snippet of that TikTok. So, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, you would think to a certain degree that it might be easier for the palace to come out and say, look, nothing is wrong. We're okay. As we already said, she is recovering. And that is where that is why they likely are not doing it, right? Because they already said it. So doing it again is simply redundant. But it perhaps could put people at ease and make things, a little bit easier for themselves too, because I imagine if, they are in the position that they are in, seeing these rumors and such probably makes them a little bit uncomfortable as well. Nonetheless, I spoke to Cameron Walker, he's the royal correspondent at GB News, about some of these rumors and conspiracies. He's in London. So perhaps let's just start out because we, of course, saw the issue that was unveiled as it relates to some Photoshop errors with the photo that was supposedly taken by Prince William that was released to social media. Then Princess Kate then later released a statement talking about how she occasionally experiments with Photoshop. But other than that, we really haven't heard too much from them. What's going on?
Good question. I mean, where do I even start? So the princess unexpectedly went into hospital for abdominal surgery back in January. Kensington Palace told us at the time it was planned. Just how planned, we don't know. But what we do know is that it wasn't an emergency admission. So she wasn't taken into hospital by ambulance, for example. And they always said from the very start that the princess would not be seen in public until after Easter. Now, as far as I'm aware, we haven't reached Easter yet, so that's why we haven't seen her in public. But of course, that has not stopped the social media rumors and speculation. And I suppose the rumors hit a high point, or at least the first high point, when Prince William unexpectedly pulled out of his godfather's memorial service in Windsor 45 minutes before it was meant to start. He was meant to give a reading, which suggests to me that it was an incredibly serious reason as to why he pulled out. And a lot of people jumped to conclusions and thought it was something to do with Kate. Now, Kensington Palace aren't going into details as to what that particular reason was. All we know is it wasn't to do with Thomas Kingston, who's the husband of Prince William's cousin, who unfortunately lost his life unexpectedly a few weeks ago. And it wasn't to do with the king's health. But the rumors kept going and going and going. And then we're getting to the point where Kensington Palace, I think, were wanting to do something to try and quash that speculation. And that's where this Mother's Day photo came in. Kate, or tends to, every year release a photo to mark Mother's Day. So this year was no different. And with the best of intentions, she released one. But of course, it turned out to be photoshopped. A number of news agencies pulled the image, and therefore a lot of people were questioning whether it was right for that to happen. And obviously, the trust issue came into play. And then, as you said, Kate released a statement apologizing and saying she occasionally experiments with editing. But that photo, which is meant to quash the speculation, only added fuel to the fire.
So perhaps let's talk about, because you mentioned social media, and that really has been something that I've personally been following. Even just if you look at some of the conspiracies, they're really reaching kind of the next level here. Would it, to what extent would it? I mean, I know what you're saying as it relates to Easter and such, and they said she's not going to be seen until Easter, and they don't owe an explanation. But in terms of providing some form of reassurance, is there any world in which they clarify something further? Because as you said, it seems as if that photo kind of created more problems than it was solving.
Yeah, it certainly did. And ever since that day, Kensington Palace have kept quite tight-lipped about the Princess of Wales's health, which isn't exactly unexpected. I think both Buckingham and Kensington Palace both really value their what we call principals, so members of the royal family's privacy, and they don't provide what like a running commentary of every day that there's an update about their health. It will only be when there's a very significant update, which is why we haven't heard anything concrete about either the Princess of Wales or the King when it comes to the health of that particular member of the royal family. If Kate decides to say something, it's very much going to be on her own terms. It's not going to be as a result of social media pressure or indeed media pressure. And if anything, it's probably put her off doing anything else, this photograph, because as I said, one of the main reasons was to try and quash the speculation. So if anything, I think she'll stay very silent until she's coming back onto public engagements. And it's at that point, which, according to the Sunday Times, and I'm inclined to agree with it, she would perhaps decide to disclose more information, but it will be on her own terms.